my name's Courtney Dodson, and the problem-solving project that I chose was defeating overtime in the workplace. The structure of my project and my PowerPoint is going to look as follows. So first we're going to go over organization, talking about the company that I chose and giving a little bit of background information about them. The second thing is going to be the background of the problem, how it started, where it came from, and the extent of it basically. We're going to talk about the 5-step problem solving model, and then of course we'll come to a conclusion. Alrighty, so the issue of overtime in the workplace, the steps that we completed to produce a solution, and the results that we received from implementing that solution. Okay, so the organization that I chose is GoStoreIt. It's a self-storage facility. The reason I chose this organization is because I'm currently employed there, so I see firsthand certain problems, and I was able to identify one and use the problem-solving steps to hopefully solve it. Okay, so a little bit of background about GoStoreIt. It is a self-storage facility, meaning that people rent a storage unit and move their items in by themselves. They move their items out by themselves. We don't assist in the moving process. We're there for customer service to help answer any questions. We do collection calls to collect any past due rent. We clean the property. We take care of property maintenance, vendor management, anytime there's an issue at the property, and we also offer security, so it's up to us to make sure the property is safe and secure for our customers at all times. We have 6 stores in Wilmington, there's 2 stores in Leland, and then we have multiple other stores within North Carolina, Texas, Georgia, Florida, and some other surrounding states, but the 8 stores in this immediate area are all under one upper management, meaning that we're all grouped together, so we all work as one. Okay, so the background of the problem and the timeline that we're looking at here is that in December of 2020, 4 of the GoStoreIt locations out of the 8 were Save Green Self-Storage. They were acquired by GoStoreIt in December, around mid-month of 2020. And in January, that's when we really started training on the new systems and the operating procedures. Since GoStoreIt took over right before the holidays, a lot of people had paid time off, they were going out of town to see their family, doing things like that, so we didn't have a lot of hands-on training in December. We were kind of just winging it until January, and that's when we were finally really getting onboarded onto the different processes and procedures that the new company does. February is when we started transferring all of our old customer information into the new system. That was a big process because there is over 750 customers. The old company did everything by hand on paper. The new company does not, so we had to get everything scanned in, everything moved over. It was super lengthy and time consuming because you're still helping customers doing your normal day-to-day procedures while trying to get all of the new things moved over, so it's kind of like you were doing 2 jobs in one. Then in March, we were all audited just to get a feel of where the properties are standing and what we needed to do to improve to get to the standard of operations that the new company expected. So we all had a pretty big to-do list come March because there were a lot of things that we weren't aware of or just weren't doing correctly, didn't have a good grasp on, that we needed to fix and get that completed within the next couple of months before we moved into our busy season, which is in the summertime because that's when the most people move, kids are out of school, etc. So come April, overtime was a little bit out of hand. The stores were struggling. We were trying to find a solution to help save the company money, help prevent burnout, and help get the stores where they needed to be for the summer season. So we applied the 5-step problem-solving heuristic. The 5 steps are: define the problem, generate solutions, decide the course of action, implement the solution, and then evaluate your solution. I used the 4 KT dimensions of a problem when I was doing step 1, which was defining the problem. This helped me locate what the issue was not, what is causing the issue. So some of the things that were causing issues were the fact that the 4 stores that were acquired in December were not adequately staffed. We had a little bit of turnover after the acquisition, and those employees were not replaced, meaning we were all running short-handed while while we had a larger task list than the normal day-to-day operation. So the 4 stores that were already Go Store It that were not acquired were fully staffed, good to go, so the hours were not adequately allocated between each location for the amount of manpower we had in the whole area. So that was definitely an issue that we had to resolve. So for step 2, which of course is generate solutions, we're trying to figure out the cause of too much overtime. As you can see by the diagram, I used the fishbone diagram for the brainstorming part of this step. Just kind of looking at what could possibly be the cause of having too much overtime. Is it an employee issue? Is it a staffing issue? Is it a training issue? Do the stores know what they're supposed to be doing every day? Do they have enough resources? Are the previous employees reaching out to the new employees? Do they have a mentor? Do they have somebody help pointing them in the right direction? Because even though it's all the same industry, each store and company does things differently. So without somebody to reach out to, then you can get lost in the transition. The next step was step 3, decide a course of action. We used the KT situation appraisal to determine what was the highest priority. The highest priority was getting the storage units cleaned. That way we were ready to go for customers for busy season, and also keeping the store staffed at all times, so that way there was somebody in the store to actually assist customers as they came in. So how do you get things done? The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing, and that is from Walt Disney. Okay, so let's get things going. Step 4, implement the solution. We had to articulate my case. I needed to prepare a vision, identify the skills needed, plan what the benefits were, what resources did we need, and the best action plan. I put all of this into a spreadsheet. I sent it over to my boss to see what he thought, and that's how we came up with the solution. This is just the very simple process of presenting your case. So we really just needed to move or borrow employees 1 day a week. It would free time up for the managers already working at that store to be able to get outside while someone stays in the office to help the customers. We didn't really need a whole lot of extra skills. We just needed the employees to embrace change and be team players and be willing to help out. When it came to the benefits, improve morale, of course, because if you're overrun, you're not going to be super happy. Less overtime, which is going to help the company save money, and it's going to give a better product to the customers because everything's going to be clean and ready to go. Luckily, the resources needed were minimum. The employees who already work with the company were the resources that we needed. We just needed to switch things around a little bit. We didn't need to hire anybody new. We didn't need to spend any money or time getting more people on board. And then the action plan we used was a deployment chart, so that way the whole company was aware of who was doing what on what days, and everyone was on the same page. So we started borrowing people 1 day a week per store, and it worked out wonderfully. So step 5, evaluate the solution. We use an evaluation checklist. Did the overtime go down at each store? Yes, it did. The stores were averaging 12 hours per week between all 4 stores. At the end of April, overtime was eliminated completely, meaning that it worked, especially because we did an audit at the end of April to see how many dirty units were at each store that were not customer ready, and each store had cleaned every single one of their units, which is huge considering they at least had 30 to 50 dirty units to begin with. As you can see with this chart, it shows you how overtime was very high between December, January, February, and March. December wasn't a whole lot of overtime because that was the month we were actually acquired, but those 3 months between December and April, overtime was at an all-time high, and as you can see by the purple bar, in April, overtime went to its lowest point since we were acquired. Okay, so that brings us to the conclusion. The solution worked. Overtime was eliminated. Everything was ready to go for the new customers that would be coming in for the busy season. The company saved on overtime, and it also opened up communication lines between the employees that were acquired and the employees that have been there for a while, which didn't happen previously. People were constantly reaching out to the same group that they were comfortable with, so that was definitely a win as well. Thank you for spending the time watching my presentation. I hope it helped.